This is KHQ Nonstop Local at 6:30.
Tonight, a section of US 12 just east of Kuski closed at 3 this afternoon. Idaho Transportation says they're not aware of when the highway will reopen. The reopen? Avalanche hazards. Authorities are saying avalanche danger is high across our region. This map shows the areas we're looking at. All the red you see on your screen is a high avalanche warning according to avalanche.org. Most of the Panhandle has been included in this warning, stretching from the Canadian border all the way down to the Silver Valley. Portions of northwestern Montana have also been included. Good evening and thank you for joining us on Nonstop Local at 6:30. I'm John Webb. Sean has the night off. In tonight's 360 coverage, we're talking avalanches, what causes them, the danger they pose, and how to protect yourself. Avalanches are caused when layers of heavy snow collapse and slide downhill. There are several reasons why they can happen, including heavy snow, wind, and of course human activity. In this case, the Idaho Panhandle Avalanche Center says there are 3 major reasons the danger of the avalanche is high. The first, rising temperatures. Hotter weather can trigger melting in the snow, destabilizing it and making it more prone to slide or collapse. Also, these areas are seeing rain at high elevations, which could further unsettle the snow. Strong winds are also contributing. The center says to avoid traveling in or below steep terrain so you don't get buried. And there's a good reason they say that. Every year, people die from avalanches, usually by being buried. Last season, 17 people were killed. 5 of those were skiers and 6 were on snowmobiles. Those numbers are lower than the season before when we saw 37 people die. That year, 17 skiers died and 9 snowmobilers. There have been no reported deaths from avalanches so far this season, thankfully. Now, today I spoke with the Lookout Pass Patrol Director about how to identify avalanche-prone areas and what you can do to stay safe. And we're joined today by John Batchelder, who's been the Lookout Ski Patrol Director for several years up at Lookout Pass. John, thanks for taking time to sit down with us today.
You're welcome.
So talk to us about avalanche danger. We're now in high danger as far as avalanche goes in the North Idaho area, parts of northwestern Montana. How do we get to that point?
Early on in the season, we had maybe a couple of feet of snow, and then that got compacted, and then we got some rain on it, and it froze. So then there's an ice layer in the snowpack. And so when new snow comes on top of that, it rests on that ice layer, and unless it merges temperature with the new snow, then there's always that barrier that it's possible to slide on. And then lately we had the real cold weather and a whole bunch more snow, and now that's sitting on there. And that was kind of a good thing, because when it's cold, it's not real damp snow. The snow is nice, fluffy powder. But now in the last couple of days, it's gotten very warm, and when you add the moisture to it, it just destabilizes the entire snowpack all the way down to that ice layer, and it has a potential of going even below that, depending on how much rain is and what the temperature is in the actual snowpack. So right now, it's just very, very dangerous, because the whole entire snow that's on top of that ice layer can slide, and depending on the triggers and the conditions, it could be what's called a climax avalanche, which goes all the way to the ground. So it's a very, very dangerous time to be out in the snow conditions.
And John, you know, we finally got some snow over the past few weeks. People are heading out skiing, doing some cross-country skiing, snowmobiling. What should people be looking for when it comes to avalanches?
One of the things that you want to do, we all love that fresh powder, but you want to get some compaction, particularly within a ski area. You want it to compact and kind of adhere to the layers below it. So you can do that in a number of ways. You can do it with ski cutting. You can do that with explosives. You can do it just with groomers, running over the snow and compacting it that way, or with skiers. And so when you get a lot of skier compactions on the run, that helps to mitigate the dangers for avalanche. So when you're out in the backcountry and there's none of that happening, that's sometimes why the risk is so much greater there. And you just really need to know what you're doing, and you need to carry the right equipment, and you need to know how to self-rescue as well as rescue the people you're with you.
You talk about having appropriate equipment. What should people have with them if they're out cross-country skiing or out snowmobiling in the area?
The first and foremost thing would be having an avalanche beacon, and it's important that you know how to use it, because if you don't know how to use it, it does you no good at all. And so that's important. Probe in order to get down maybe 240, 250 centimeters into the snowpack. If you were looking for somebody, a small collapsible shovel in order to dig out. And then communication. These days with our phones and GPS, that's a great thing to carry with you, so that if you can communicate via your GPS and your phone, that's going to help rescuers to get to you. There's another service called Air Flare, and what that does is it puts it on your phone, and then if you use that service, a rescuing organization can pinpoint exactly where you are and then know how to find a person. So those are probably the 4 or 5 basic things that you ought to carry with you.
All righty, John, thank you for taking time with us today.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
Continuing our 360 coverage, the weather over the holiday weekend has had a huge impact on the avalanche danger. Let's bring in Blake Jensen in the Weather Center. We had all that snow over the past few days, now turning over into rain. Sounds like we're getting even more rain, Blake.
Yeah, that, and then you heard John talk about that freezing layer, that ice as well. And again, all of this is making for a very unstable snowpack, John. And that's why we're talking about this avalanche warning that is in place over the northern panhandle of Idaho. You add to that, again, a lot of water that's going to further sink down into that snow, destabilize it even more. The gusty winds, the warm temperatures, all of that working against us here. And again, these are the areas you want to avoid at least through tomorrow morning. That might get extended as, again, we are looking at a ton of moisture moving in and much warmer temperatures along with it. And again, all of that factoring in here, not only the warm and the wet, but also the gusty winds. All of this going to start happening tonight and lasting through the day tomorrow, even into Wednesday morning before this storm starts to move on out. So how much rain are we talking? Yeah, quite a bit. 1 to 2 inches of rain. Again, if that was all snow, we would be talking about 10 to 12 inches of snow, about a foot of snow. So lots of moisture. And outside of the avalanche risk also brings flooding concerns. All those areas shaded in a light green color, that's a flood advisory. That includes Spokane to Coeur d'Alene down through the Palouse. That's where we could see, again, all this melting snow kind of collecting on roadways, low-lying areas that don't drain out too well. We also have a flood warning now just issued after a flood watch for Paradise Creek in Moscow. That has been upgraded to a flood warning, where flooding could start as early as minor flooding as just after midnight tonight, could continue all the way into portions of the day on Wednesday. And that is typically one of the rivers and streams that starts to flood the quickest here in our area. Also numerous rivers in western Washington under flood warnings, and that's not even to talk about the wind. That's also coming in. Wind advisory rather starts tomorrow morning 4 a.m. lasting all the way until 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, where gusts in those shaded areas could be up to 50 to 55 miles per hour. Again, overnight tonight, notice 100% chance of rain. It's going to get heavy into the early morning hours. Expect very messy roads tomorrow morning, and the rain continues pretty much all day long tomorrow, as well as the winds pick up into Wednesday. Showery weather as we get to the rest of the week. Temperatures do cool back down and should dry out by New Year's weekend.
Warm, Blake, thank you. For more of tonight's 360 coverage, you can head to our website. That's nonstoplocal.com. Don't forget to click on the 630 section. Well, following that Arctic blast, thousands of holiday travelers are still stuck at the airport. FlightAware says over 83,000 commercial flights have arrived on the 21st. Yesterday, only 61,000 made it to their destination. Nonstop Local's Guy Tannenbaum is at the Spokane International Airport. And Guy, people are still stranded there.
People are still waiting, John, but I will say this is the shortest the Southwest customer service line has been all day since we've been here. It's about 1:30. We had, in fact, the line really going all the way through the length of the concourse where folks check in here for Southwest. And the reason why the line has been so long for Southwest specifically, you're taking a look at how far that line really did stretch. Really, it's now empty for most of the concourse, but really gate agents still working hard to assist people. The reason why Southwest has had the bulk of the line and the bulk of the traffic today is because they're making up the bulk of the cancellations nationwide. John, you mentioned how many flights didn't make it to their destination today. FlightAware says that the total cancellations in the United States today for flights is approaching 4,000 for Southwest. They've canceled 70% of their scheduled flights nationwide. That's about 3,000 flights at this point. And I talked with a woman named Jan who says that she's been here for the holidays, but at this point she's just hoping to get home to Houston. Take a listen.
Thankfully, I'm retired, so I have the time. I don't want to take that much time because now I want to go back home to Houston and take care of my other grandbabies. I just maybe will try to get an Uber and go see Puss in Boots.
That's a good way to kill time, if I do say so myself. Now, I will say, too, Jan was telling me that the soonest that she could get rebooked on a Southwest flight to Houston was 4 days from now, and that's not a unique case. My mom, in fact, was here in town for Christmas, she was supposed to fly out tomorrow morning back home to Las Vegas. Her flight tomorrow morning was canceled, so I ended up checking out the Southwest Airlines app to see what the soonest that she could get out of here with so she can go back home. She was saying that the soonest that she could find and that she ended up getting rebooked on was also Saturday, December 31st. This is a situation that most of these folks here dealing with Southwest cancellations across the country, not just in Spokane, but in Denver, one of the most impacted airports. If you have a flight scheduled tomorrow, regardless of the airlines, make sure you're taking a look ahead of time tonight and into tomorrow to make sure to see if you have and if you're impacted by any of these delays or cancellations because of this winter storm. Live at the Spokane Airport tonight, Guy Tannenbaum, Nonstop Local.
Alrighty, thank you, Guy. And if you are stuck at the airport, I guess you got to go see Puss in Boots. I love it. Southwest released a statement addressing the cancellations today, apologizing for the disruptions. They say they were fully staffed and that they're expecting additional changes going into the new year holiday travel period. Let's get to tonight's Big Six headlines. A powerful weekend winter storm has killed at least 55 people here in the United States. That includes nearly 30 people who died in western New York's Erie County. And the death toll is expected to climb. The monster storm stretched from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Rio Grande along the Mexican border. According to NBC's tally, storm-related deaths have been recorded in 12 states, stretching from Colorado all the way to New York and many places in between. In Buffalo, New York, one of the worst hit areas, roads quickly became impassable as snow piled up. Some workers who went to and from their jobs got stuck on roads, including Alyssa Patridge, who was stuck while trying to get home.
We've had a lot of storms, so we kind of just thought this was another one that we're used to, and you just be careful. You do what you need to do, but this was definitely just something so different that I've never experienced. Top 3 scariest moments for sure.
You literally couldn't see where the road was. I was looking for power lines and, street signs to know that I was on the road. It was insane.
Oh, that's frightening. Luckily, Alyssa was picked up by an ambulance that was passing by, but she had to bunker down at the ambulance depot from Friday until yesterday morning. Buffalo and some surrounding areas are still under a driving ban. Multiple power substations were attacked on Christmas Day in Pierce County, Washington, knocking out power to more than 17,000 people. Blue flames could be seen shooting into the air at one substation. It's one of 4 that were broken into on Sunday. Law enforcement sources tell the NBC affiliate in Seattle that they received a memo from the FBI earlier this month warning them about attacks to the power stations in the Pacific Northwest. Nothing was stolen during the break-ins, and police are hesitant to call it a domestic terrorist attack because they don't have a suspect.
Just not sure why anybody would want to do that to other people on a day when, we're here to celebrate with our families and be together and, have that downtime, especially through the last couple of years where things have been really hard for everybody.
Officials are now patrolling the substations, and they're considering putting an extra focus on security around national holidays. Ukraine's foreign minister says his country wants to have a peace summit by the end of February. This announcement comes as the Ukrainian military fires shells at Russian positions around Donbass front line. Ukraine's foreign minister tells the Associated Press his government wants a peace summit, preferably at the United Nations, with the UN Secretary General as a possible mediator. A late February peace summit would coincide with the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Since August, Russian forces have been bogged down in a costly and extended fight to capture Bakhmut, a regional industrial town where 70,000 people lived before the war began. An advisor to Ukrainian President Zelensky has accused Russia of trying to wipe out the town. South Korea fired warning shots after officials say North Korean drones violated its airspace today. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff saying 5 North Korean drones crossed the border, one traveling to the northern part of South Korea's capital region. South Korea firing off warning shots and sending attack helicopters to counter the drones. It's unclear if they shot any down. The Transport Ministry saying tonight that flights leaving from the Incheon and Gimpo airports were suspended for an hour. It came at the request of the military following the drone sightings. This incident happening at the end of a year of unprecedented North Korean missile testing. Hospitals in China are struggling to keep up with a new wave of COVID-19 infections. There are reports of emergency rooms turning away ambulances and relatives of sick people searching for open beds. One hospital in Shanghai told its staff last week to prepare for a, quote, tragic battle with COVID, as it expects half of the city's 25 million people to be infected by the end of this week. China's Health Commission reported there were more than 390,000 confirmed COVID cases with symptoms last week, but said it's not publishing daily COVID numbers from Sunday because of doubts about the data's reliability. Funeral homes in China are also reportedly struggling to meet the demand. A small plane crashed into icy water near Edgewater, Maryland this morning. Emergency crews say the plane crashed into Beards Creek around 10:30 after it went off the runway at Lee Airport. Officials say the pilot was the only person on board the plane. Thankfully, 2 kayakers on Beards Creek were able to reach the crash site quickly and pull the pilot out of the frozen water, which likely saved his life.
So the fact that these 2 individuals were able to recognize what happened and got into their kayaks and went out there absolutely probably saved his life.
The pilot was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The cause of the crash is now under investigation. Well, there's still much more to come tonight on Nonstop Local at 6:30. If you've noticed tightening in your lungs, you're not alone. What the Mayo Clinic is saying about the cold temperatures and the impact on your lungs. Plus, more money heading to the pockets of 70 million Americans, where the extra cash is set to go. But first, caught on camera, lots of dirty cars in a town outside of Austin, Texas. A look at a car wash completely frozen over. Those stories plus much more in a couple of minutes. Welcome back. Caught on camera, the cold temperatures we've been seeing all across the country found their way to somewhere unexpected, a car wash in Texas. The city of Lakeway outside of Austin was hit with the bitter cold temperatures, causing a car wash to freeze over. The video showing the car wash covered in icicles was posted to Instagram, a rare sighting captured on Christmas Eve. Talking your health tonight, current cold weather conditions could be causing issues with your lungs. Doctors at Mayo Clinic say that the cold, dry air hitting much of the U.S. could be causing a condition called Brancausman, a tightening of the lungs which can cause a sensation like shortness of breath. People who suffer from chronic lung conditions could feel those symptoms worsening in extreme cold. Doctors say stay inside when very cold conditions arise if possible. Having extra inhalers and even backup medical breathing equipment such as a CPAP or oxygen concentrators could also be helpful. Also talking your health tonight, the Food and Drug Administration is changing Plan B packaging, clarifying that it's not an abortion pill. Dubbed the morning after pill, the emergency contraceptive is used by women to decrease chances of pregnancy after unprotected sex. If taken within 72 hours after sex, it stops or delays eggs from being released from the ovary. The federal agency wants users to know that it won't affect you if you've already been pregnant. They will be changing the information on packaging to communicate that Plan B is not effective after an egg has already been fertilized. In consumer news tonight, for seniors awaiting the higher benefits payouts, updates are done and those bigger checks could be coming this week. About 70 million Americans will see a boost of about 8.7% in their Social Security checks starting as soon as this Friday. The raised benefits will go to both those receiving regular Social Security and supplemental security income benefits. The hike in the cost of living adjustments is the highest since 1981 based on inflation. Average payouts will increase by more than $140 per month. An added benefit for recipients is that Medicare premiums are going down while Social Security benefits go up. If you have a need to spend, you may already have the money available. A report says that Americans are holding on to $21 billion worth of unspent money in the form of gift cards they've received. Creditcards.com say the average unspent amount comes to about $175 per person. About 54% of Americans say gift cards were the most requested gift item this year. About a quarter of people say they have lost their gift cards. We're going to take a quick break here on the 6:30. Still to come tonight, one good thing, the dog that helped his owner walk up an icy pathway. Come back with the wintry conditions all across the country this month. Ice seems to be covering everything, but sometimes all you need to beat the ice is a best friend to help you through it. Hunter Kramer of Kearney, Nebraska was trying to walk up his driveway. His dog Jameson was able to do it with no problem. Hunter, on the other hand, well, you can see in the video he posted on Facebook. Luckily, Jameson noticed his human having troubles and came back to lend a paw, towing Hunter up the walk safely. That ice was no match for the friendship and teamwork of Hunter and Jameson. That does it for this edition of the 6:30. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night on the 6:30.